You're not going to Sweetwater. I need there.
Okay, here we are with the PRS NF53. PRS. This does look pretty crooked, but is it straight? Let me see. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna set up the trapeze. I don't know if I.
Let me lock this off.
Right here. No, it's good. It's good. It's just this. It's just this thing.
Because when you're leaning in there, I was zooming in on your face.
All good. All good. Let me continue.
Quietly.
Do your thing.
What?
So, it's clearly a brand new design that PRS came up with. No one's ever done this before.
Completely original.
Thank you, Glenn. Glenn's behind the camera. Original design. But you know what? You don't have to be original. I have Shabbat's. Everything that Shabbat's doing is pretty much based on what Leo did. And so on and so on. Original isn't necessary. When you're writing songs, all the chord progressions have already been done. All the lyrics, desire, fire, have already been done. Do it well. That's the idea. So you guys can bitch and moan about PRS did Tele, but did they do it well is really all that I care about. And I probed Mr. Smith about a few things. Then he yelled at me because you do not criticize the poll. But I do, because you guys have questions and I will answer them because he answered them for me. And I would say 98% satisfactory. So, talk about factory. This is a factory guitar, but of course, hand CNC'd at PRS in wherever they are in the US. America! Yeah. Just like, thank you, Ryan. America, yeah, this thing. Ryan, from the Sweetwater.
The Sweetwater.
So we have, this is a vintage 1 or vintage 2?
Vintage 2.
I have this at home. I know this guitar. This is a good comparison. And that's what we're going to do. This is about 2,200 roughly in Germany. So maybe here around the
2,200, yep.
2,200, okay. This is clocking in at 2,800. So I'm going to call it comparable between $2,000 and $3,000. The Vintage 2 comes with a tweed case, which is nice. This comes in a gig bag with, at that price point, I'm going to have to say, well, the PRS gig bags are kind of sweet. So, okay, fine. But let's go into this thing first. It's clearly PRS's interpretation of what a Tele should be like. So you can totally see the non-crooked pickups. You can see the pickups that are bladey and doubly. The NF stands for not your freaking normal pickup. Stands for narrow field, and that's what these are. So they are hum-canceling-y, humbucky, but narrow, so they actually have a single coil feel. I think that's the idea. Paul could tell you more about it, but he's not here. Generally, the idea is, let's do Tele stuff. Obviously, we have 3 and 3 because it's a fucking PRS. We have a Michael bolt-on neck, as you have. We have no guitar tit, or for our Spanish viewers, teta de guitarra. Right, Carlos?
You're right.
Thank you. We have vintagey Clusen style tuners with newly designed plasticky turnsies and non-locking tuners. Now, the Miles Kennedy version of this has different pickups. Also, it's called differently. It's called the Miles Kennedy. I don't know who that is. Probably some guy that teched for the Beatles at some point. I have no freaking idea. Some guitar player that at one point, or I don't know, he plays guitar. And it has the typical PRS style top locking tuners. This doesn't. So I asked Mr. Smith why, because locking tuners should be in everything. And he said, I don't think it needs it because it's got a fixed bridge. And the weight issue is an issue with locking tuners. I get this, so there might be 3 grams more. But he said, I don't think it needs it. As the guitar builder, making that decision not because of money, but because of tone, I can't argue with it. Okay, Paul, I'm not gonna argue with it. You don't want locking tuners on this, it's your freaking guitar, that's fine. Volume tone, no pushy-pulley, 3-position switch. The Kennedy has 5. What I find interesting, and if the Fricker can zoom in, please. The Teles have these 2 riders. Let me tell you why that is special, or why it makes sense, which is why a Tele sounds like a Tele. So we've got these 3 saddles here with 2 strings each on the traditional. And Trevor Wilkinson, who is a man who designs things, said to me, well, look at it. When one string vibrates, the A string vibrates, it actually directly transmits its resonance, vibration, whatever, to the E string. So those two strings are actually connected. And they will have interference, positive or negative feedback when it comes to the wave. Just like the D and the G string, just like the B and the E string. And this is why this shared saddle will sound very different than a Strat or, of course, a Floydy thing. Now, PRS went with 3 strings per saddle. It's just 2 saddles, so you can't really do too much individual intonation. 2 saddles also means you can only have 2 horses. Okay, Fender 3. That's funny to some people.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Thank you.
I think it's funny.
Ryan thinks it's funny. Get it? Because a saddle is a thing that I do not. So I find this.
Out.
I find bye Ryan. I find this really interesting, and obviously this will change the way that the strings interfere and reinforce each other's vibration, resonance, waves. So I find this super interesting, and obviously this is a different guitar. We have the narrow fields, we have this, we have PRS's brilliance when it comes to quality. I'm gonna go with this is, I wanna say it's bone. It does look like bone to me. I've seen a lot of bones, but what do I know? The bone. So I love the hollow birds. Totally like it. This is, of course, a maple neck. Nothing flamey on it. Nothing super porn. But okay, some of you bitched about the scarf joint on the Mayors and other things. I've read a lot of comments about this. Now, for me, a scarf joint can be stability, but it also is, because it's an angled headstock, a way to save on wood. Now, if I said this, of course, Paul would rip me a new one, but he is not here, so I'm saying it. It could be either or. Do I want to have the visual of like, oh, wait a second, they're trying to save on a $3,000 guitar? I don't know. Now, I called them out on a 3-piece body. You can clearly see that that's a piece, and that's a piece, and that's a piece. And there's clearly a line here, and if you look from over here, then can you see the lines of the different pieces?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so you can clearly see that. I have seen Ibanez's, for example, that on the website are shown as clearly 2-piece bodies, and I got them as 3 or 4-piece bodies. That's bait and switch. That's not cool. And they're also uneven pieces, like a little bit of a here, then a big one. All of these NF53s have exactly the same distribution. The middle block is exactly the same size as these, so this is definitely not using scrap wood. It is deliberate, and I asked him why. And then he got mad at me and yelled, as he does, but he had a great explanation. He said, swamp ash comes from a swamp. It's kind of in the name. And half the log, he said log, is in the water and soaks up water, gets wet, and it gets very, very heavy. If you want light swamp ash, you have to go to the part that's not in the water, and there isn't that much wood to gain from it. So you get smaller boards, and if you want a light swamp ash body, which is possible, you're gonna have to go and economize. You know what? Sustainability, economics, lighter body, that's great. If you want a heavy swamp ash body, maybe you can come up with a 1-piece, 2-piece. And he said, no, we want light bodies. And this is the thing on this guitar, it is rather light. Glenn, come in front of the camera.
Yeah, okay.
Hold this NF53. That's not a heavy guitar, right?
That's not too bad.
That's pretty good.
Medium weight, yeah. It's
Okay.
not like super light, but it's not like a, oh yeah. Yeah, no, that's about the same weight. Maybe a tiny bit heavier.
I think that's definitely heavier.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it is heavier.
I like the ergonomics of this. So Did I bitch about stuff? 3-piece body, but not really bitching about it, non-locking tuners. Again, Paul had an explanation. 3-position switch, like a Tele should have. This is kind of cool. We'll check out the sound of the narrow fields, and then we're going to compare it to the vintage 2 from Fender at 600 less. We are going through the Rev D25, which I have here on setting number 1, virtual cabinet, XLR out into the Zoom F6. I'm recording my voice with the Sennheiser EWD portable. Thank you, Sennheiser. It's a great system. So we have a chord here. Someone explain that B flat to me. I don't know, it doesn't make sense. It's got honk. I haven't played guitar in weeks, I'm sorry. With the gain, I'm actually rather impressed. It's got everything what you want from that type of instrument. Here we go. The playability, as PRS is, it's flawless. It is fun. I love the sustain and the tone. It's a thin kind of Italy wiry thing, but silly guitarist, tone is in the speaker, says Glenn. Well, as we've learned many times, Glenn is fucking wrong. But listen. Okay, tonally, I'm sorry, this is nice. The tone is there, it stays, it's got sustain, it's got the twang, but it doesn't die away. There is some meat, but not too much. Let's do a direct comparison. Oh, this is more guitar to handle. Yeah. So, okay. Okay, thank you. Fresh out of the warehouse. So, this knob doesn't sit right. There's of course, no pushy pulleys. It's a 51 type Tele. Now this already nice, but not quite as much meat. Ooh, The PRS is not a Tele. It is an NF53. If you're looking for a Tele with that sound, buy a Tele. If you're looking for something that goes in this direction but actually has more meat and there's a lot less tone there. Glenn, come on, you can hear this, right? Yeah, speaker. But it didn't change the speaker. The guitar made the difference, you f***er. God, I really can't play after weeks. It's crazy. This has the spank, but the elegance, I gotta say, goes to the PRS. It really does.
What units is elegance measured in?
Elegantos. We measure elegance in elegantos. Now you notice how the tone develops under the fingers. There is an extra that you get from the extra that you spend. No question about that. It doesn't look like a Tele. This looks like, you know, someone pissed on it, and that's what you want from a 51 classic-y, you know, butterscotch. You don't have that with a PRS. If you want the classic look, you need to go classic. But if you want a functioning instrument, I'm gonna say that PRS is gonna sell the shit out of the NF53. It's not a tune, but quickly we go back, same setting. Oh my God, this is Carlos, thank you. And then we're done with this. I have to say, in the A-B comparison, rather impressed. Here we go. Clearer, more defined. Okay. You do with that as you will. And that being said, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, people. Thank you, PRS. Thanks, Paul, for yelling at me. You made a good guitar, what can I say? And as we say, animals at the end.